Welcome back to Contractor Truth, everybody. Presented by Growthscapes. As always, I am John, the Contractor Growth Guy. And just before we jump into the meat of today's episode, I've got a couple of quick things I want to mention. First, as always, I want to say a thank you, a heartfelt thank you, whether you've been listening from the beginning or if this is your very first episode that you've heard. I genuinely appreciate you spending some time with me. There are a million podcasts, a lot of YouTube channels and social media accounts fighting for your attention every single day. So the fact that you'd spend part of your day listening to this show means a lot to me. And if you find that you're getting value from Contractor Truth, I'd ask one favor, and that is, would you please share this with another or with other contractors? Send it to a roofer, a landscaper, a home renovator, painter, electrician, plumber, HVAC contractor, anybody else you know in the trades. The goal here has never been to become the biggest podcast in the world. Obviously, I know that's not within reach. The goal has always been to simply help contractors build better businesses, to make more money, be more profitable, create less stress, and spend more time doing the things they actually enjoy. Now, I'm excited to announce something on this show. This has been a while in the works, and I'm really glad to be able to announce that the Contractor Authority training system is actually officially, as of this moment, live. I've been working on this for a while. As I've said, it was built and is continuing to be built. It's not finished by any means. It will always be a work in progress. It was built specifically for contractors who want to improve their sales process, close more jobs, qualify leads better, communicate more effectively, and to build systems that help them grow without all the chaos that so often comes in our business. Now, the way this works is very, very simple. Allow me a moment to explain. Right now, as of this moment, it's $19 a month. There's no big upfront investment. There's no complicated contracts, no gimmicks. Now, one of the tricky parts of pricing things is that if you price it too high and there's not enough perceived value, then you get a high churn rate. People will tune in maybe for a month and then they're out, right? The problem if you go too low, which may be the risk I've run here, is that people look at $19 a month and say, well, shoot, it can't be that good, right? I want you to go in and try it because I believe it is that good. The content we put together, I'll talk a little bit more about it, but it is just like we do on this show, just like we do in my Instagram page. It is actionable solutions that you can use in your business tomorrow. I don't like dealing in theory. I live in real world, and so do you. We live in the same world. So I'm not just here to talk pie-in-the-sky concepts and all that kind of nonsense. What I want to talk to you about in that training are actionable things that you can do right now, right away, that will actually make your business better immediately. So $19 a month. Again, it's no big upfront investment. There's no complicated contracts. There's no gimmicks to it. And here's the important part. When you sign up for $19 a month, that price is locked in for life. As long as you remain a member, you'll never pay more than the price you joined at. And right now, that's $19 a month. Now, as new modules are added, new training is added, new worksheets, new systems. As the program grows, you'll continue to have access to everything that's added going forward. It's all included. There are no upgrade fees for that. There are no surprise charges. There's no nonsense. Just ongoing training that I continue to build, designed specifically for my audience, for contractors. So if you'd like to check it out, the link is in my Instagram bio. Speaking of Instagram, by the way, if we're not connected there yet, come and find me. Just search John the Contractor Growth Guy or Growthscapes, okay, and you will find me on Instagram. Now, there are a few fake accounts out there. I suppose imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, and if you see those fake accounts, make sure they're the fake accounts. Please do report them to Instagram. Instagram seems to do nothing about them. But that's where I'm posting daily content on sales, lead generation, marketing systems, customer, all the stuff we talk about, customer communication, follow-up, everything else that helps contractors grow. And finally, those of you who are regular listeners, yes, we're still operating on the same budget we've always had, meaning we're still too poor to afford any bumper music at the beginning or anything like that. So if you're waiting for some fancy intro, dramatic sound effects, or a professional radio announcer voice, you're probably going to be disappointed because you're stuck with just me. This show's really, as you already know if you've listened at all, about real contractors having real conversations about real business problems. No fluff, no corporate nonsense, no fake guru advice, practical ideas that actually work in the real world. Now, I want to say this too. I absolutely love doing this. I love helping contractors. I love talking business. I love learning and studying the sales process. I love studying business growth and passing on what I learn to others. And I love watching my audience succeed. And every week that goes by, I get to see more and more of it. I genuinely believe that small business owners and contractors are some of the hardest working people on the planet, and I'm so glad to be a part of your world. That's why I'm here. Now, let's get into today's episode. I want to deal with something that's come up on social media a bit recently, not something that was new to me at all, and it is what I'd call the contractor myth of the week. Sorry, I had to keep hydrated there. How many of you have ever said this when the subject of follow-up comes up? This is very common where a contractor will say, hey, if they want me, they'll call me. I have heard that for years. In fact, I used to hear it all the time. Well, I still am in the construction industry to some degree. Obviously, I'm not a contractor anymore, but when I was, and I may have even used that in a moment of weakness. If they want me, they'll call me. Now, on the surface, that sounds reasonable, doesn't it? I mean, the problem is, it is completely wrong. In fact, this is a major component of Lowball Leo's. Remember Lowball Leo? This is a major component of his playbook. It underlines his entire attitude. Low price, low quality. You get what you pay for. It is often seen in the comment threads, by the way, of my social media posts. So this is a real thing. And it's a religion with many, many ardent believers. It isn't partially wrong. It's not a little bit wrong. It's not slightly wrong. It's not a little bit off. It is completely 100% off. Completely. So if you are using this phrase and have this thinking, if they want me, they'll call me, drop it. Please do yourself a favor. Enter the world of being a professional and profitable contracting company and stop telling yourself stuff like that. Because it's a lie. It's not true. This might be one of the most expensive pieces of advice that contractors in their echo chamber continue to give to each other. Think about what that statement assumes. Just let's back up here. Let's tear this apart. That's what we do on this show, okay? It assumes that your customer is sitting at home thinking about your estimate all day. It assumes they have no distractions. It assumes they are organized. It assumes they remember everything you told them. It assumes that when life gets busy, your project stays at the top of their priority list. And none of that is reality. The reality is that your customer has a life. They have jobs, they have kids, they have aging parents, they have planned vacations and events and weekends, bills to pay. They have 20 other things demanding their attention right now. And your patio project or roof replacement or basement renovation or fence, deck, or addition may be one of the most important things in your business right now, but it is rarely the most important thing in their life. That's the first mistake in old school contractor thinking. Contractors often assume that silence means rejection. Most of the time, silence simply means life happened. Now, let's look at what the research actually says, okay? Because study after study after study has shown that the vast majority of sales are not made on the first contact. In fact, many sales studies have found that roughly 80% of sales require 5, get this, I'm not making this up, don't shoot the messenger, they require 5 or more follow-up contacts before the sale occurs. Yet nearly half of salespeople, and I would say the large majority of contractor salespeople, give up after one follow-up attempt. And the overwhelming majority quit long before they ever reach 5 contacts. Okay, now think about that for a second. 80% of sales require multiple follow-ups, but most people quit before they ever get there. Now, I don't even know what to liken this to, okay? It's like a contractor digging a foundation. He goes down 2 feet and says, that's good enough, right? Like, why you would never do that with the craft that you ply. But why are you stopping halfway through the sales process and then conclude, based on no evidence whatsoever, that the customer wasn't interested? No. The customer simply wasn't finished making a decision, or maybe the customer didn't have enough information to make a decision. Another statistic, by the way, I found interesting is only about 2% of sales occur on the first contact. 2%. In other words, if your strategy is to provide an estimate and then disappear, you're betting your entire business on a tiny percentage of opportunities. That is not a strategy. That is wishful thinking. Now, whenever I talk about follow-up, there's always somebody, and it's usually multiple people in the crowd, and I get this concern, so I'm not going to scoff it too much, because it's legit. We want to talk about this. John, I don't want to be pushy. Well, good. Neither do I. I hate high-pressure sales. I think high-pressure salespeople are charlatans most of the time. I think they're scammers. I have no time for it. You'll never hear me talk about high-pressure sales tactics. If you think that's what I'm offering here, then you need to listen more, because I am not doing that. Professional follow-up is never pushy. Professional follow-up is professional. Okay? Think about this. Think about your dentist. They follow up. Think about your doctor. He follows up. Think about your lawyer. They follow up. Your insurance broker, your accountant, they follow up. Do they follow up? Of course they do. Absolutely. Do you think of them as desperate? No. You think of them as organized and professional. That's the difference. Customers don't view reasonable follow-up as desperation. Customers often view it as competence. It communicates that you have systems. It sends a message that you care. It sends the message that you don't let things fall through the cracks. Now let's talk about the difference between following up and chasing. Because following up sounds like this. Hey Steve, I just wanted to make sure you received the estimate and see if you had any questions I can answer. That's professional. Not, hey, are you ready to sign this contract? Are you still interested in doing this project? What's going on? I haven't heard from you and I need an answer. Okay, that's desperation. That's all centered around you. Center your follow-up around the needs of the customer, not around your needs. When it's around your needs, that's desperation. The one builds trust, and the other doesn't just not build trust, it actually destroys it. The goal of follow-up isn't to pressure people. The goal is to help people take the next step. And sometimes that means answering more questions. Sometimes that means a clarification of scope. It may even need a second meeting to clarify some things. Sometimes it means helping them compare quotes. Sometimes it simply means reminding them that you're still there. Because here's another reality. Customers forget, not because they're bad people, because they're human. How many times have you forgotten to return a phone call? How many times have you forgotten to send an email? How many times have you meant to do something and then life got in the way? Why would you think your customers are any different? In fact, many customers actually appreciate follow-up because it saves them from having to remember. Here's the part that really bothers me, because many contractors who say, if they want me, they'll call me. They're the same contractors complaining 6 months later that their phone's not ringing and they don't have any work. Oh, it's slow. Oh. Meanwhile, the other contractors follow up consistently, staying top of mind, building relationships, and winning jobs that never would have happened otherwise. Why? They followed up. The contractor who follows up professionally, he doesn't close every estimate, but he closes more of them. The contractor who follows up professionally doesn't look desperate. He looks organized. The contractor who follows up professionally, he doesn't annoy customers. He stays visible while everyone else disappears. So can we retire this myth once and for all? If they want me, they'll call me. No. Maybe they will. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll forget. Maybe they'll get busy. Maybe they're distracted. Maybe they'll assume you're too busy. Maybe they'll choose the contractor who followed up first. Because here's what I know. You cannot lose a job because you followed up professionally. But you can absolutely lose one because you didn't. All right, that's the end of that segment. Let's move into the next one here. We're going to talk about a subject that it's relevant to every one of you. No matter what economy you're sitting in right now, this subject is relevant. So do not turn me off, okay? How to survive a slow construction economy. I'm in the thick of this right now in my part of the continent, okay? We're in a construction recession. Let's talk about something. A lot of contractors are dealing with different parts of the country, both in Canada and in the U.S., and I know it's happening in Australia. I talk to contractors in Australia and New Zealand on a regular basis, and they are suffering somewhat of a slow construction economy for various reasons that we won't get into. So maybe your phone isn't ringing as much as it has been. Maybe estimates are taking longer to turn into jobs. Customers are hesitating. Projects are getting delayed. There's no sense of urgency. And maybe you're hearing more objections than you've heard in years. And if that's happening, I first of all want to tell you that you're not alone. Construction is cyclical. It always has been. There are seasons when contractors can't keep up. Remember COVID? Remember that fun time? And then there are seasons like after COVID when contractors wonder where on earth is the next job coming from. And this isn't new. The problem is that most contractors, I was going to say act surprised. I don't think that's true, really. Probably don't act surprised, but far too often act surprised when it happens. The best time to prepare for a downturn was during a busy season. The second best time is today, okay? There is hope if you're there today. And we're going to talk about that a little later in the show. You see, the contractors who survive difficult markets, they don't start preparing when things start to get bad. They prepare when things are good. When the phone is ringing off the hook, when estimates are flying out the door and they're closing and deposits are coming in, that's when smart contractors are doing things that many others are not, okay? And I'll just mention a few of them here. They're staying out of unnecessary debt. They're building up their cash reserves because money's coming in. Save. Be like the squirrels, okay? A mentor I had years ago, he said, be like the squirrels. You have to put stuff away for winter, right? Because winter is always coming. They're saving for slower seasons. They're paying attention to their numbers. They're making sure they stay profitable in every job. They're creating systems. They're preparing for winter while it's still summer because they understand a simple truth. Good times don't last forever. And thank God, neither do bad times, okay? One of the biggest mistakes contractors make is assuming that today's workload will continue indefinitely. So what do? They go out and buy bigger trucks. They take on more debt. They increase their overhead. They expand quickly. Then the market slows down. They discover they built a business that only works when everything is perfect. That's dangerous, okay? Because here's what happens. And I use this alliteration often, and it seems to get the point across. This illustration, rather, often, and it seems to get the point across. When the market slows down, it's like the tide going out, and all of a sudden, you get to see who is swimming naked, okay? And the contractors who haven't prepared have been swimming naked, okay? When that market slows down, it's a dangerous period. A strong business needs to survive both sunshine and storms, okay? This is a major mistake I want to highlight. I want to talk about this for a minute, okay? I had a call from a contractor, and I won't tell you where he's from, but just an area of the country that is suffering a construction downturn at the moment. And so I talked to him for, I don't know, probably 20 minutes, half an hour last week. And it's a long ways from where I live. I'm not super familiar with the economy there. I a little bit familiar with the state of the state where he's from and know that it's probably not economically booming. It's a high tax jurisdiction and not all that business friendly. So, um, to say the least. And I said, where have your leads come from up until now? And he said, 100% word of mouth. Now, before anyone gets upset, referrals are fantastic. Okay, there's high trust, there's higher closing ratio when it's a referral. Some of the best customers you'll ever get will come through referrals. But if referrals are your only lead source, as was the case with this particular contractor, then your future, and this is exactly what I told him, I said, you've put control of your leads in someone else's hands. Your entire business is up to those people referring customers to you. Now think about that. You're waiting for other people to decide whether you're going to eat next month. You're waiting for customers to remember you. You're waiting for people to talk about you. You're waiting for opportunities that you don't and can't control. That's not a business strategy. I mean, it's wonderful, and I would do nothing to discourage that, but that's just hope. You need systems that consistently generate opportunities. You need visibility online and elsewhere. You need relationships. Think subcontracting. You need marketing. You need to have a pipeline. We'll save the lead generation discussion for another episode, but understand this. Businesses that survive downturns usually have multiple ways to attract work, okay? The businesses that struggle often only have one. And as the old saying is, all their eggs are in one basket. Now, I want to talk about something else that a lot of people don't think about. It's what I call the foxhole mentality, okay? Picture a battlefield, okay? Not battlefields like today where everything's done from a computer and flying a drone and all that, but World War II, World War I, okay? You're in the foxhole. You're in the trenches. Bullets are flying overhead. The environment is very dangerous. It's very uncomfortable. It's very stressful. That's what a downturn feels like for many contractors. In that moment, the temptation is to panic, to do something rash, to make some emotional decision. This is one, to quit marketing, okay? We'll talk about that in a minute. Slash every expense, disappear, hide, wait. But that's not what experienced soldiers do in a foxhole. They stay disciplined. They conserve their resources. They keep their heads down. They have a plan. They execute it. They survive. You know what happens? Eventually the shooting stops. All the bullets stop whizzing around up there. And the contractors who make it through downturns understand this. Their goal isn't necessarily to dominate during the slowdown. Their goal is to survive it. Because something very interesting happens during every economic downturn. With all those bullets whizzing around up there, it takes out a lot of the poor competition that you've been fighting against. Many of your competitors disappear. Some were poorly managed. Some carried too much debt. Some relied on one customer or one referral source. Some had no savings. Some stopped marketing. Some panicked and did some rash emotional things. Some simply weren't prepared. They were in too much debt. They had too much overhead. The bullets flying overhead tend to eliminate those weak competitors. Then when conditions improve, the disciplined companies emerge into a marketplace with fewer competitors than ever before. That's why some of the strongest construction companies you know today were forged during difficult markets. And I talked to these guys, okay? They didn't just survive. During those times, they actually got stronger. Now, I want to talk about marketing because one of the most damaging things contractors do when work slows down is they cut marketing. Well, think about how backwards that is. Now, I'm not a marketing company. I've done marketing before. I understand marketing very, very well. But this is coming, just listen to me as a guy who's trying to help contractors. Okay, when you need leads the most, you stop trying to generate them. When customers become harder to find, you become less visible. When competition increases, you disappear. That's the exact opposite of what should happen. In reality, marketing becomes more important during slow periods, not less. The companies that remain visible are often the companies that people remember. The companies that are posting online on their social media regularly, they're staying active, they're educating customers or they're educating the public, they show up consistently. Those are the companies that stay top of mind. And when projects finally start moving forward, guess who gets the call? The company people keep seeing. The same principle applies to relationships. Slow times are an incredible time to build relationships. Call past customers. Visit your referral partners. Meet with your suppliers. Connect with builders. Here's a good one. Talk to realtors. Reach out to designers, engineers, architects. Strengthen your network, okay? Most contractors only focus on relationships when they're desperate for work. The best contractors build relationships before they need them, because relationships built during slow times often produce opportunities when the market rebounds. And let's talk about opportunity. Most people view downturns as purely negative. They are negative. I was going to say I don't. Well, I do a little bit. But not totally. They're difficult, they're uncomfortable, they're stressful, but they also create opportunity. As I've already said, weak competitors get exposed. The undisciplined competitors get exposed. The companies with poor systems get exposed. The companies that survive become stronger, more disciplined, more efficient, more professional, and often they become more profitable. The goal isn't to enjoy the downturn, but use it. Use it to improve. Use it to strengthen your systems. Use it to build relationships. Use it to refine your marketing. Use it to become the company that emerges stronger on the other side, because eventually the market will improve. It always does. And guess what? I guarantee you, I know, not every contractor in the English-speaking world is listening to my podcast. In fact, not even a percent of the contractor world is listening to it. 99%, at least, of contractors in the world are never going to hear what I'm telling you. You know what they're doing during a downtime? They're going, oh, well, it's bad, it's rough, it's just the way it is. Oh, well, we'll just have to suffer through it. And they're not improving. They're not using it. They're not capitalizing on it. And guess what? That gives you an opportunity. Gives you an opportunity to pull ahead of them because they've taken their foot off the gas. The market will improve, and when it does, the question won't be whether the opportunity exists. The question will be whether you position yourself to take advantage of it, okay? So maybe you're listening to that segment, and you're thinking, that's great, John. I should have prepared 6 months ago. I should have saved more money. I should have diversified my lead sources. I should have built a stronger pipeline. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Yeah. Maybe you're right, but here's the good news. You don't need a time machine to go back 6 months and start over, okay? So there's no silver DeLoreans in your plan, okay? Dr. Emmett Brown doesn't need to be found. You don't need to go back to the future. You need a plan, because dwelling on what you should have, could have, and would have done doesn't generate revenue. Action does. And remember, we're all about action here, okay? These are actionable ideas. So let's talk about what to do if you're slow right now. Not next year, not 6 months from now. This is if you're in the midst of what I've described right now this week, okay? The first thing I want to tell you is this. Don't sit and wait. Seriously, don't sit and wait. I've just alluded to this, okay? You know, the 99% of contractors that aren't listening to this show, one of the most dangerous things that happens during a slowdown is that contractors become spectators. They just kind of sit around and they start watching the economy. They're not working their business the way they should be. They're making excuses for it. It's not my fault. It's the government's fault. Again, we don't do politics here, but that's what we do, right? They spend hours reading headlines. They scroll social media, doom scroll at night, watching YouTube, check weather forecasts, talk to other contractors and complain about how slow things are. They spend hours complaining, hours worrying. None of those things generate a single lead. None of those things close a single sale. None of those things put money in the bank. Activity does. The successful contractors I've known all have one thing in common during slow periods. They increase activity. While everyone else is hiding, they're working, they're moving, they're planning, they're executing. Let's start with the easiest thing that you can do, okay? Call past customers, okay? I can't tell you how many of you are sitting on now, if you've only been in business 6 months, this won't work. But if you've been in business any amount of time, I cannot tell you how many of you are sitting on a gold mine that you may never revisit, okay? You completed a roof 3 years ago, a basement 2 years ago, a patio 4 years ago, basement renovation 18 months ago. Have you called those people lately? Probably not. Why not? You already have trust. You already have a relationship. You already have proof of your work. Call them. What do I say? Ask them how they're doing. Ask them if everything on the project is holding up well. Ask them if there's any other projects they've been considering. You would be amazed. Look, even if they say, nope, we're good, right? Do you not think there's a possibility that in the course of the next few days, they're going to be talking to someone and say, hey, you're never going to believe what happened to me the other day. You know, Joe Blow Contracting called me. Remember the guys who did my patio? Yeah. What'd they call for? Just to see how I'm doing. Make sure the patio's still in good shape. Wow, really? They did that? Okay. That cannot hurt you. Okay? It just can't. And not only that, you'd be amazed how many times in the course of 10 or 12 calls like that, you'll have one or two say, hey, yeah, you know what? We're just thinking about doing our driveway, or we're just thinking about doing this. And next thing you know, you're in a discussion about a project. I'll tell you what, if you don't make the call, it can't happen. So don't sit there and go, well, it might not happen. It might not happen. Make the call. You just don't know. The other one is to follow up on old estimates. You could, depending on what exactly you're offering, what exactly your service offering is, you could very possibly create work almost immediately. So go back through every estimate you've provided in the last 6 months and haven't sold, every single one. Then start making calls, okay? Not sales calls, professional follow-up calls, okay? You would be shocked probably at how many opportunities might be sitting out there in limbo, okay? This goes back to what we were talking about, follow-up, okay? Customers get busy, projects get delayed, finances change, priorities shift, and sometimes they're waiting for someone to re-engage the conversation. I've seen this. I can't count how many times I've seen this. I've personally seen jobs close months after an estimate was originally delivered. It's forgotten about. Not because the contractor lowered the price, not because the contractor got lucky, but because the contractor followed up. Then the other thing you can do is ask for referrals. Most contractors ask for referrals once and then walk away, maybe twice, but then usually that's it. That's the max. Meanwhile, they have dozens, maybe hundreds of satisfied customers. Reach out. Tell people that you're looking to help more homeowners this season. Ask if they know anyone considering a project. Don't make it awkward. Don't make it desperate. Just ask. You have earned the right to ask when you did great work for them. They know that. They're totally comfortable with that. Now, let's talk about old leads, okay? Everybody has them. You know, site visit you did a while ago, they decided not to go ahead at the time, going to put it off for a little while. Leads that never moved forward, people who called, forms that were filled out, people who requested information, people who disappeared from your radar. Go find them. Reach back out. A lead that wasn't ready 6 months ago might be ready today. Maybe a lead that couldn't afford it before, they might have saved the money and be a month or two away. And in that case, they might have been getting ready to call one of your competitors, but lo and behold, you called. Boom. They're surprised. Hey, yeah, Phil, I'm glad you called. I actually was just about to call ABC Contracting. I totally forgot that you gave me a quote too. That'd be great. You don't know where this is going to go. A lead that postponed a project might now be motivated. Most contractors treat old leads like expired milk, like, throw it down the drain. In reality, many are simply dormant opportunities. Here's another one. And this one, a lot of people have trouble with this, but by the way, I can help you with this one. Okay, I don't do it myself, but I can point you in the right direction. Okay, this is a area of specialty, and be very, very careful who you've hired to do this. By the way, if you need someone, come and talk to me. Send me a DM on Instagram, message me somehow. Improve your Google reviews. It's one of the highest return activities right now. And you can do this during a slowdown period. You can do it anytime. You should do it. Most contractors know they need reviews, but most contractors don't know how badly they need them. How much that affects your Google local profile, okay? Very few contractors systematically ask for them. So take an afternoon, build a list, reach out to these satisfied customers, ask for honest feedback. Every review strengthens your online presence. It's not just about your score. You could have a 5.0 score with only 10 reviews, and if your competitor has a 4.9 but he's got 100 reviews, he is going to likely rank higher than you on Google local business, okay? Every review increases trust. Every review helps future customers choose you over somebody else. Then start visiting referral partners. This is huge, okay? Builders, designers, landscapers, suppliers, related contractors, realtors, property managers, insurance brokers, anybody who regularly interacts with your ideal customer, not to ask for work, but to build some relationships, okay? The best referral relationships are built before you need them, not after. Speaking of realtors, by the way, let's talk specifically about builders and realtors. These two groups can generate tremendous opportunities, okay? Because they both know homeowners. Realtors are hearing about renovation projects every day. Builders hear about projects every day. Most contractors never develop these relationships the way they should. And the few who do will benefit for years. Don't forget your suppliers, okay? Your suppliers talk to contractors every day. I know this firsthand, okay? Suppliers know what projects are happening, what's coming up, who's bidding on what, all that kind of stuff, okay? They know who's busy, they know who's growing, they know who's expanding because they know who's buying materials. They know who's looking for subcontractors, who's looking for recommendations. This is a tremendous resource. A good relationship with a supplier can create opportunities you never would have discovered otherwise, okay? Because if they happen to be your supplier and you're spending money with them, it's to their benefit to help your business. It absolutely is. If they can help you increase your business, they increase their own sales, okay? Now let's talk about money. Tighten expenses. I didn't say you need to panic, slash everything. Don't stop investing in your business. I said tighten expenses, okay? There's a difference. Review your subscriptions. Review your equipment purchases. Maybe you need to review your financing arrangements, and if it's bad enough, you may need to go to those finance companies and renegotiate, okay? Review your discretionary spending. Look at your overhead. Sit down, talk to your accountant. Become more efficient, not more fearful, more efficient. Strong businesses learn to manage expenses during slow periods, and it helps them increase profitability when things pick back up. Weak businesses ignore them until they're forced into terrible emergency decisions, meaning selling off assets and decreasing their capacity and so on. And finally, increase your estimate volume. This is where contractors get it backwards. They get slow, they become less active. What they should do is become more active, more networking, more prospecting, more follow-up, visibility, conversations, opportunities. You cannot close jobs that never enter your pipeline. You can't win estimates that you never provide. You can't grow while sitting still. And if you're slow right now, your answer isn't inactivity. It's intelligent activity. The contractors who survive downturns aren't necessarily the smartest. They aren't necessarily the most talented. They definitely aren't the cheapest. And they're the ones who keep moving. They keep working. While others worry, they work. While others complain, they connect. While others wait, they build. And eventually those actions compound into results. So if you're slow right now, here's your challenge. Pick 3 things from this list and do them this week. Call past customers, follow up old estimates, ask for referrals, reconnect with old leads, improve your reviews, visit referral partners, meet with builders and realtors, talk to suppliers, review your expenses, increase your activity. Don't just sit there. Because the contractors who sit and wait rarely win. The contractors who move usually do. So let's wrap up. I've given you one challenge already. I'm glad you're listening, but we need to get beyond just listening. Here's the truth. Listening to this podcast alone will not change your business. Action changes businesses. You can listen to every podcast, read every book, watch every reel I have on Instagram. You can take multiple courses, attend seminars. But if nothing changes when this episode is over, then nothing changes. So here's your challenge for the week, okay? I want you to pull up every estimate you provided in the last 90 days, okay? Not the last week or the last month, the last 90 days. Now go through that list and ask yourself one question. Have I personally followed up with every one of these people? Not an automated email, not a text, not hope they would call, not assume they weren't interested. Actually got on the phone and called them. If the answer is no, your assignment is simple. Call them. Every single one of them this week. Now, before you panic, let me be clear. This is not a pressure campaign. This is not a high-pressure sales tactic. This is not you calling and asking, so are you buying or not? That's not what we're doing. We're simply reconnecting, okay? Something simple like, hey, Steve, this is John from ABC Contracting. I was reviewing some estimates this week, and I realized we hadn't spoken in a while. I just wanted to check in and see if you had any questions about the proposal or if there's anything that I can help you with. That's it. Then shut up, okay? At this point, he who speaks first loses. Let them talk. That's it. I shouldn't say loses. You know what I mean. That's it. Simple. Professional. No pressure. You know what's funny? Some of those people, they're going to tell you, yeah, we already hired somebody else. That's okay. At least you know. Some are going to tell you that they've decided not to move forward. That's okay too. At least you know. But some are going to say, you know what? We've actually been meaning to call you. Or, we've been busy and haven't had a chance to decide. Or they might say, we still want to do the project. We're just not quite ready yet. Some might even say, hey, can you come back and take another look? We've been rethinking this project. That's why we're doing all of this. Because hidden inside those old estimates may be thousands, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars of work. Work you've already paid to generate. Work you've already spent time estimating. Work you've already invested effort into. You don't need to find new leads to recover those opportunities. You simply need to revisit them. Now, if you don't have any old estimates, here's your alternate challenge. Call 5 past customers this week, not to sell them anything, not to ask for work, just to reconnect. Ask how they're doing. Ask how the project is holding up. Ask if there's anything they need. Strengthen the relationship, because relationships are often where future opportunities begin. Either way, your assignment is simple, no excuses, no waiting, no overthinking. Take action. Pull up your old estimates, make the calls, reconnect with past customers and see what happens, because the contractors who win are rarely the ones who know the most. They're usually the ones who do the most. Now, that's this week's Contractor Challenge. Now, get off my podcast and get to work.